I ask you to set aside your current affairs and focus, because the next few minutes are capable of forever overturning your perception of reality. From an early age, society instills in us four fundamental delusions, the true purpose of which is to make a person weak, dependent, and devoid of will. And the most frightening thing is that you most likely sincerely believe in each of them. 500 years ago, Machiavelli warned us about these traps, claiming that power and influence are never given voluntarily, they must always be taken. Today, I intend to show how exactly these mental viruses invisibly rob you of power, and by the end of our conversation, the veil that's been covering your eyes for years will finally fall. You'll finally understand why some people easily get everything they want, while others spend their entire lives in an exhausting and unsuccessful struggle for survival. Have you ever wondered why luck seemingly favors only the chosen few? They get the best positions, attract opportunities, and evoke respect, while you, following all the rules and remaining a decent person, continue to tread water. The secret lies not in blind luck or wealthy, influential connections, but in understanding a hidden game whose rules are known by winners while you dutifully sit on the bench. Machiavelli's treatise, The Prince, written in 1513, remains one of the most discussed books in history precisely because it exposes the uncomfortable truth about human nature and mechanisms of influence that society prefers to hide. These harsh truths are even more relevant today than in the Renaissance era, and ignorance of them makes you an ideal object for manipulation. The existence of these four myths is justified by a very specific task: to keep you within boundaries, make you passive and convenient to control. Because by believing lies, you voluntarily give your resources to those who see the real state of affairs. However, once you realize these mechanisms, your worldview will change irreversibly. You'll begin noticing hidden patterns and understand why some strategies lead to triumph while others lead to collapse. This isn't about becoming cruel or treacherous, but about stopping self-sabotage and looking at the world soberly, without illusions. If you're ready to challenge established dogmas and regain control over your own destiny, let's mentally fix the intention to see truth and analyze the first deadly trap. Lie number 1. All good things come to those who wait. The most widespread and dangerous mindset sounds like this: all good things come to those who wait. Its treachery lies in the fact that it seems incredibly wise and noble. In reality, this thesis translates completely differently. Sit quietly, don't stick out, and let others take what rightfully should be yours. Think about what happens during your humble waiting. While you show patience and trust an abstract process, someone else is acting, creating their own rules, and winning. I've observed many times how talented specialists waiting to be noticed gave way to those who actively declared themselves, and entrepreneurs with brilliant ideas watched as competitors captured the market with similar products but already launched. This myth convinced millions of people that initiative is a sign of desperation, and that success should just fall into your hands as a reward for endurance. In reality, waiting strategies bring absolutely nothing but disappointment, as Machiavelli eloquently stated. Since love and fear coexist poorly, if one must choose, it's safer to inspire fear than love. The philosopher didn't mean cruelty, but the harmfulness of dependence on others' approval. Hoping to be loved and gifted opportunities for nothing means losing in advance. Because genuine respect is born only from actions, not from modest silence in the corner. Consider a classic example with two candidates for one position. The first candidate has a perfect resume, but simply sends it and waits for a call, while the second, having simpler qualifications, begins acting aggressively, seeks contacts, meets employees, and proves their value in practice. The second will win because they learned the main lesson: opportunities don't wait for us, they're created by our own hands. and passive waiting is a trap for those afraid of risk. People tend to mask their fear of action with beautiful words about patience, but the truth is that success comes to those who demand recognition and create value here and now. History shows that outstanding individuals never waited for the perfect moment or permission from above. They began acting in conditions of uncertainty, having only part of the information but possessing complete determination, while others were preparing to simply begin preparing. The universe doesn't keep score of time you spent in agonizing waiting, and certainly doesn't plan to issue you rewards for patience. Success is exclusively the privilege of those ready to voluntarily leave the comfort zone, risk facing harsh refusal, and boldly look into the face of complete unknown. Every minute of delay is a chance someone else is already using to overtake you on the turn and take your place. While you feed yourself promises to start a new life tomorrow, your competitors are already today strengthening their positions and creating an unattainable advantage. Every time you choose cozy inaction instead of decisive action, you consciously exchange superiority for gray mediocrity. The answer to what to do is extremely simple. Start moving. It's better to take imperfect action than endlessly plan an ideal start that will never happen. Stop waiting for someone's permission and train yourself to ask for forgiveness, not permission. Stop hoping someone will notice your hard work. Act so you simply cannot be ignored. Cultivate the habit of instant reaction. An idea appeared? Immediately test its strength. View an opportunity? Grab it with a death grip. Want something? Ask directly. The worst that can happen is they'll refuse, but even refusal is infinitely better than agonizing uncertainty and regret about what could have been. This world belongs to those who come and take what's theirs, leaving others only crumbs. Remember this simple truth and make it your internal law. I act here and now, independently creating my opportunities. Lie number 2. Everyone deserves respect. The second lie that undermines your position and makes you weaker sounds deceptively noble. Everyone deserves respect. Before you get indignant, think about this. By giving away this most valuable social resource left and right to people who haven't earned it, you devalue the very essence of respect. It's not a participation prize or a given for the fact of existence. It's a reward for strong character, actions, and real results. When you respect in advance those who have done nothing, you're essentially declaring to the world that your standards are worthless, thereby humiliating yourself. Belief in this lie leads you to value the opinions of those who have achieved nothing, putting an equal sign between advice from failures and recommendations from successful people. You allow those who think nothing of you to use your time and energy as if these resources were infinite. Look at really successful leaders. They're extremely selective and perfectly understand that respect is a two-way street where everyone must walk their own path. Machiavelli noted that people judge more by appearance than essence, and to whom you give your respect forms your own image in others' eyes. Generosity with respect to the unworthy makes you appear weak and indiscriminate in society.
Imagine a meeting where half the participants achieved success through hard work, while the rest got there exclusively through connections or lucky chance. If you treat all 10 participants with equal reverence, you broadcast a dangerous signal. Achievement, like the difference between talent and mediocrity, doesn't matter to you. As soon as people read this message, they stop taking you seriously. However, it's important not to confuse respect with basic politeness and manners. No one's calling you to rudeness or arrogance. You must be correct with everyone, but reserve true, deep respect for the worthy. You can be kind without being naive and attentive without letting people walk all over you. In real life, those who demand honor without merit will definitely test your boundaries for strength. If you immediately surrender, you'll instantly be classified as weak. But if you maintain polite distance, forcing the person to work for your recognition, they'll either show character or reveal their true face. People who are actually worth something will understand and appreciate such an approach because they themselves live by principles of meritocracy and respect the presence of high standards. I've observed many times in business how leaders who equalize all subordinates, regardless of their contribution, rapidly lose authority. The team doesn't respect a leader who doesn't respect themselves enough to have evaluation criteria, and colleagues don't take them seriously due to inability to distinguish valuable employees from dead weight. Conversely, a leader who is polite to everyone, but whose true recognition must be earned through results, instantly becomes a figure whose approval people crave to achieve. This principle works absolutely everywhere. In personal relationships, forgiving constant disrespect shows your boundaries mean nothing. In business, putting lazy workers and workaholics on the same level demotivates best employees and encourages worst. Your respect should be like a luxury item, valuable, rare, and hard to access, not a cheap souvenir handed out to everyone. Be impeccably polite with everyone, but give your recognition only to those who've proven their right to it through consistent and worthy actions. Pay close attention to how a person behaves with others in moments when they're confident no one significant is watching. Evaluate their reputation. Do they keep their word? Are they ready to take responsibility for their mistakes, or do they constantly seek blame elsewhere? It's important to understand whether this person brings value to communication or only consumes others' resources. Your respect isn't small change, but an expensive asset, so treat it carefully, and then people will begin paying you back with the same coin. Remember this simple truth: respect isn't given, it's earned, and you must have enough self-respect to demand adherence to high standards. Line number 3, just be yourself. There exists a dangerous delusion capable of sabotaging your success, the advice, just be yourself, which supposedly guarantees sympathy from others. At first glance, this sounds like positive acceptance of your nature, but in reality, such a mindset becomes an anchor keeping you in your current position. If the point where you currently are doesn't satisfy you, then the recommendation to change nothing in yourself is your worst enemy. The truth is that we're multifaceted. In every person simultaneously coexist a lazy person and a workaholic, a confident leader and a complex neurotic, a focused strategist and an eternally distracted dreamer. When they advise you to stay yourself, which exactly of these facets are they meaning? Most often, people choose the path of least resistance, sliding toward their most convenient and passive version that requires no effort, no growth, no overcoming discomfort. They mistakenly call this laziness and lack of character authenticity, though in reality, they're simply avoiding difficulties, hiding behind fashionable terms about self-acceptance. But real growth requires you to become the best, most effective version of yourself, especially in moments when it's difficult, unpleasant, and requires willpower. Niccolò Machiavelli once wisely noted, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, but few experience what you really are." He understood that you yourself control the image you broadcast to the world, and it's precisely this choice that determines the doors opening before you and the quality of people wanting to collaborate with you. Imagine two incarnations of one personality. The first is eternally late, spills excuses, and runs from problems. The second arrives on time, takes responsibility, and focuses on solutions. Both of these personalities are you, but only one is capable of attracting worthy opportunities and success. The myth of authenticity convinces us that being weak is more natural because it's easier. However, the disciplined version of you is no less real. It just requires greater energy investment. Accept the uncomfortable truth. Your personal growth will inevitably become an irritant for some acquaintances. When you begin building firm boundaries, this will anger those accustomed to disregarding them, and your striving for excellence may frighten lovers of mediocrity. And this is wonderful, because that's how the natural filter works. You sift out those pulling you back and attract the like-minded people sharing your values. Look at those people whose achievements you genuinely admire.
Do they choose comfort or constantly challenge themselves? Success is inseparable from iron self-discipline and the ability to act in the role of the person who achieves results regardless of current mood. I've observed this across various industries. A salesman who works by inspiration and looks careless will never inspire trust in serious clients, unlike a composed professional. Just as an entrepreneur avoiding difficult decisions for peace of mind dooms their business to stagnation, while a decisive leader builds great companies. This isn't hypocrisy or pretense, but a conscious choice to realize your highest potential instead of indulging old habits. Your current comfortable personality version has already fulfilled its task. It brought you to where you are today. And if you want to end up in a different place, you'll have to change. Stop hiding behind the phrase "be yourself" when you actually mean "be comfortable," and start cultivating qualities worthy of the life you dream about. Fix this mindset in your consciousness. I choose to be the best version of myself, even if it causes discomfort, because it's precisely this way, through overcoming your former self, that real evolution occurs.
Line number 4. Everything happens for a reason. The fourth and final illusion that methodically robs you of inner strength sounds painfully familiar. Everything happens for a reason. This phrase may seem like a soothing mantra, but in reality, it's the quintessence of victim mentality, skillfully disguised as life wisdom. Such a mindset convinces you of the absence of control over your own destiny, as if some external forces pull the strings while you can only humbly accept any outcome, influencing nothing. The truth is far more prosaic and harsh. Events happen as a direct consequence of decisions you make and actions you take. When you blindly believe in a higher design, you voluntarily surrender the steering wheel of your life. And the danger of this lie lies in its pseudo-spiritual coding. It allows justifying failures with some grandiose plan. But while you sit waiting for enlightenment about reasons for your troubles, someone else takes responsibility and creates real solutions. Let's break this down in detail. When misfortune happens, you always stand before a choice of two paths. You can seek mystical reasons for what occurred, or determine practical steps to fix the situation. The first leaves you a passive observer. The second returns control to your hands. Niccolò Machiavelli once noted, "I'm not interested in preserving the status quo. I want to overthrow it." He understood perfectly that accepting things as they are and believing in hidden meaning of suffering are the main enemies of real progress. Look how this lie manifests in everyday life. A person loses their job and instead of immediately updating resume and starting networking, waits months for clarity, considering dismissal a sign from above. Another faces rejection and blames it on fate instead of cold-bloodedly analyzing mistakes and improving their approach. They simply accept defeat as inevitability. When business collapses, a fatalist decides they're simply not made for this instead of studying mistakes and trying again, armed with new knowledge. This is how you turn into a passive viewer of your own movie, starting to believe that success or failure is dictated by forces beyond your control. Successful people think fundamentally differently. When something doesn't go according to plan, they don't seek cosmic omens, but harsh cause and effect relationships. They ask themselves, what actions led to this result? How to prevent this in the future? What lesson can be extracted right now? They understand that luck is a consequence of competent decisions and persistence, not magic. Of course, an element of randomness exists. Natural disasters, accidents, or other people's actions are beyond your power, but you always control your reaction. The choice is only in who to be in this situation, a victim of circumstances or a person capable of overcoming them. I've seen how fatalism destroys human potential faster than any other limiting belief, forcing people to justify inaction and avoid hard work on themselves. This mentality is especially poisonous in personal relationships, when a person endures a toxic partner for years, believing they must learn some lesson instead of building boundaries or leaving. Just like in business, failure is often blamed on fate, whereas successful entrepreneurs perceive failure not as cosmic intervention, but as valuable feedback. They don't wait for mercy from the universe, but use gained experience, correct strategy, and achieve success with the next attempt.
Stop seeking esoteric reasons why your life isn't working out and start taking practical actions to improve it, creating conditions in which success becomes inevitable. Your life isn't a movie with a pre-written script where everything miraculously resolves in the finale. It's the result of your daily choices and labor. Take control of the narrative into your own hands. Stop being a secondary character in someone else's play. Finally, become the sovereign author of your own story. The most inspiring realization you can reach is that only you, your standards, efforts, and decisions are responsible for the result, not fate or a higher plan.
Conclusion: the system of control. Now that we've examined all 4 lies, waiting, demanding respect, the call to be yourself, and belief in fate, it becomes obvious they serve one purpose: to make you passive and dependent. These aren't just scattered harmful advice, they're elements of a unified system that benefits from your inaction. While you wait inactive for the perfect moment, someone else appropriates what rightfully could have been yours. When you waste your respect on everyone indiscriminately, real power belongs only to those who actually confirm their status through action. The habit of comfort only preserves stagnation and prevents challenging the existing order. And blind belief in fate kills the will to fight for necessary changes. Niccolò Machiavelli once noted, "Since love and fear coexist poorly, it's safer to choose fear if you must choose." I want to expand this thought. This isn't about being frightening in a negative sense, but about earning authority through your high standards and concrete results. Others must see in you a person who always follows through, doesn't tolerate mediocrity, and harshly suppresses any pressure attempts. The most successful figures in human history perfectly understood these truths, rejecting sweet illusions for accepting uncomfortable but honest reality. They always preferred decisive actions over passive waiting, loyalty to principles over universal approval, development over peace, personal responsibility over fatalism. Now you possess knowledge and clearly see which delusions constrain your growth and which truth is capable of granting real freedom. The natural question arises, how exactly will you use this understanding? Will you return to old behavioral patterns or begin implementing what you've learned into your life today? The decision remains yours, but make it quickly, because while you weigh all pros and cons, someone else has already moved to active action. As a final step, I propose you mentally fix this intention and firmly declare to yourself, I reject lies, accept truth, and commit to living from a position of strength. Never forget that success doesn't come to those who humbly wait. It goes only to those who have the audacity to come and take what's theirs.